Have we been wrong about Top Thrill Dragster this entire time? That's what we're going to be figuring out in today's video. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Coaster Freak Jr. and today I'm coming back at you guys with another Top Thrill Dragster speculation video. As always, there's been a ton of rumors circulating the web when it comes to Top Thrill Dragster, and we're going to be going over those today and breaking down the possibility of those rumors being true or not. And the first big rumor that we have to address is one that came out within the past day or so from a quote-unquote inside source at Cedar Point. This person has been very accurately predicting different stages of the Top Thrill Dragster project that we have seen actually unfold in front of our eyes. So while they have been very accurate, we can still not take their word as 100% proof or anything confirmed. Now, the information that this person provided as far as the crane goes was the crane was being used to inspect the overall integrity of the top hat structure and inspecting welds and bolts, just making sure everything was good to go there. And then later on in the future, we will be seeing another crane, probably two cranes, when the big job comes in. Now, what is that big job, you ask? According to this person, Cedar Point is not considering but has already made the decision to extend the height of the top hat on Top Thrill Dragster. Now, this is a scenario and possibility that we discussed in the past when Cedar Point originally first announced that Top Thrill Dragster would be closed for the remainder of the 2021 season, but we kind of immediately brushed it off as being too much of an engineering nightmare, not impossible but difficult, and most of all very expensive to do. So we said more than likely that is not going to happen. But let's take a second and approach this rumor as if it was actually true. What are some of the things that would have to happen to make this top hat extension a reality? Well, for one, Cedar Point would have to have the money to fund such an expensive project. Now, does Cedar Point have the money? Yes, they do. But why would Cedar Point be willing to spend the money is the next question. Let's break it down even further. The last major roller coaster that opened at Cedar Point was Steel Vengeance, and that was back in 2018, and the new reimagined Top Thrill Dragster is scheduled to open at sometime in 2024. So that's going to be 6 years since their last major roller coaster edition. And yes, Wild Mouse did just open in 2023, but that does not count as a major addition. And you can also discuss the amount of money that they spent on the boardwalk, but Cedar Point's budget for roller coasters and their budget for expansions like the boardwalk are two separate budgets. So again, that money doesn't count when we discuss money spent on roller coasters. So that brings me back to my main point. Cedar Point has not had a new big roller coaster edition in 6 years as of 2024, when that will be in the future. So again, if they planned on building a roller coaster from the ground up between 10 to 20 million, why spend that 10 to 20 million on a roller coaster from the ground up when you can take that money and relocate it to Dragster, a coaster that has been a pain in your neck for ages now with its unreliability and technical issues, but it is a very popular, one of the most popular rides in the park. Invest that money, reclaim the height record. You're gonna make your money back. You're gonna make a unreliable ride that is very popular, reliable, more rideable, which is gonna bring in more thrill seekers and more guests and bring in more revenue, and it's gonna give Dragster a longer shelf life. So it does make sense to move that money from a ground up project and just work on something you already have standing there. But I don't want to make it sound like it's an easy feat, because now we need to talk about the engineering side of things. And now, is this possible? Yes, it is definitely possible, but again, it's going to be very expensive and a lot of groundwork would have to go into it. Groundwork in the sense of new footers being poured, new supports being added in conjunction to the already standing structure, and the current structure being reinforced as well. And not to forget to mention adding track after all of that. Even with me laying it out and breaking it down like that, I am not an engineer and I'm still making this sound a lot more simplified than it would actually be. But again, that does not mean that it's impossible. It is possible, but it's going to take a lot of work. Again, assuming that this rumor is true, I'm sure you guys are wondering, when would we see construction for this project to take place, as a project of this magnitude is going to require lots of construction hours to be put in. Now, according to the inside source, we can expect to see a heavy construction presence around the top hat and the rest of Top Thrill Dragster starting around Halloween weekends in October. But let's break this down even further and see if it actually makes sense or not. Hollow Weekends is in October, as I just stated before, and that's when Cedar Point cuts its hours down drastically, going from being open 7 days a week to being open only 3 days a week on the weekends. So that would give the construction crew 4 days a week that they could really put a lot of time and effort in on getting this project done. Even if they wanted to work during the weekends with operation hours, they could also do that as well. But we're also forgetting one key factor. At some point, Cedar Point is going to officially announce this Top Thrill Dragster project and tell us all of the details of what's going to be happening to it. And I personally predict that to be sometime in September, because once they officially announce it, that's when they're going to really kick things into high gear, because they won't be trying to hide anything from us. Not that they have already been trying to hide anything really to begin with, but you know, if they are going to be building a vertical spike or they are going to do a top hat extension, they're not going to be able to hide the supports. And if they start laying footers by the top hat, they're not going to be able to hide that either. So once they start laying footers by the top hat or bringing in new track and supports, Top Thrill Dragster is going to be long announced before that happens. So if they do announce it in September, that would give them anywhere between 1 to 4 weeks to actually get those footers laid, which you have to remember, they laid the footers behind the station within 1 week, so they can lay footers pretty quickly. So that gives them all of September to lay footers, and then that will give them all of October to start working on the lower structure and supports, and then that would give them a little bit of November. Things would slow down in December and January, start picking back up in February, and then by the time you get to March and April, things are in the final gear to finish this project in 2024. So again, that date around October or September makes perfect sense for a project of this magnitude to actually be able to complete it in time. So they have the funds, they have the construction capabilities, they have the willingness. There's really nothing at all stopping Cedar Point from actually going forward with this. Now again, this is just all rumors. We do not know if this is going to happen or not. But finally, I want to talk to you guys about 2 theories if this top hat extension does actually happen, about how the layout could look. One is a theory I've been seeing floating around the internet for the past day or so, and one is my personal theory of how the layout could look. So for the first theory that's been going around the web for the last day or so is that the footers behind the station that we have seen, that is not for a vertical spike, but that is for a track extension and a station extension, so they can push the launch backwards even further, so the trains would have enough momentum to make it down the launch track up and over that 500-foot top hat extension. Now that means no vertical spike, that means no elements, no inversions, nothing, just a pure 500-foot top hat with a even hopefully more intense launch. Now that theory is pretty lackluster, as again that would capture the height record, and that 500-foot top hat would be immensely insane to go down, but it doesn't include the vertical spike, and I think a lot of us have our hopes set high for that vertical spike. So let me give you my personal theory now. Hang on to your butts, because you guys know I love coming with the crazy but also reasonable theories. And for my theory, if this does get a 500-foot extension on the top hat, I do see them moving the launch track backwards even further, and maybe even changing the station, but I don't see it switching sides. I think it's still going to launch on the side of the midway, as I've heard people proposing the idea that the launches is going to change. That's even what the inside source says. I don't believe that to be true. I think that what's going to happen is it's going to launch backwards out of the station, up a 400-foot vertical spike. Yes, you heard me, a 400-foot vertical spike, come down that 400-foot vertical spike, and up that 500-foot top hat. Now people kept saying, oh, you know, a 500-foot vertical spike doesn't make sense because you can't capture the height record that way, because not everybody would pass the maximum point of the spike. But this way you have a vertical spike and the height record with the top hat extension, and this is where it gets a little crazy, maybe even the speed record. I could see this roller coaster having a max speed of 150 miles per hour to get the speed record, but I don't think Cedar Point would ever run it with guests. at 150 miles per hour. So correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you have to be on the ride for it to count as a record, but I could see this ride easily being around 140 miles per hour, especially with a 400-foot vertical spike and a 500-foot top hat. I think this ride would be absolutely insane. You start backwards with an LSM launch, up that vertical spike in front of the midway for everyone to see, down the vertical spike, up the brand new and extended 500-foot top hat, and then you finish the ride like you always do. Just to let you guys know one more time that none of this is confirmed. It should be taken as facts, as we are just simply going over the rumors from around the internet and just having a little bit of fun with speculation. It's been your boy Costa Freak Jr. here. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to turn on post notifications. I love hearing your guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. How do you feel about this inside source? Do you think they're reliable or not? Would you want to actually ride something like this? 500-foot vertical spike, 500-foot top hat extension. Which one would you prefer, or do you want both? You let me know in the comments below. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.